The Tao Te Ching, written by Lao Tzu. I actually dug out, this is a book from like the 60s, I think. It's the first version. I had it in the back office there, so I pulled that out and thought, this, you know, you'll find various versions of the Tao Te Ching, and you hear about it and you go, oh, you know, I'm not familiar, or I've heard pieces of it, and it's very misunderstood and very misrepresented, as is a lot of spiritual teachings. But the Tao Te Ching is probably the most, the deepest, shortest, simplified spiritual teachings. The fact that it's so condensed is what's really amazing. It's like someone took volumes and then put them into cliff notes. The problem then became the translation, and people have tried philosophical translations, lofty, poetic translation, intellectual translations, and they all just started steering off from what he was saying, because if you don't translate it spiritually, you're still not getting it. So there's been all kinds of translations, and a guy named Jonathan Starr has done some recent work, and it's actually beautiful and dead on in its translation. But the Tao Te Ching, what amazes me about it is this. The Tao Te, T-E, Ching. Ching is sort of like a meaning, I think it's like writings or verses. But Tao means, like, I would translate it to mean like the father aspect of God. It's considered invisible, and the initial, the father, which I've described to everybody here, there's a father and mother aspect of God. Not really gender, but as we know it, there's the Tao, which you could say inspires, creates, and the Te, which becomes the mother, materializing it, manifesting it. Remember, the word matter comes from the same as mother. So the father creates and the mother manifests. The father might inseminate or might inspire a creation of a child. The mother will manifest it in the womb. So the divine mother, the cosmic mother, does that. She manifests the universe for us. And if you can listen and read the Tao knowing that, it all starts to come together. It makes a lot more sense. Some people read the Tao and it's like, oh, yeah, let me try this. That which is isn't unless it is, except on Mondays. You know, it's like, what? It's not that complicated. But Lao Tzu, who writes it, says, these verses are very easy to understand. It's only because you're messed up that you don't get it. And that's exactly what Jesus ended up teaching hundreds of years later. And it's what he says in A Course in Miracles. The reason the Course in Miracles gives you an aneurysm when you try to read the dang thing is because you're already so tense and so defended in your mind. And let this just unravel. But then that brings me back to Monet's story. See, if I would have just tensed and tried to defend an opinion, that too could have become a conflict. And so does the Tao, and so does the Course in Miracles, and so on. Instead, just drop the defenses. Just see it. As soon as this gal said this about Monet, I just drop into it. Let it unravel. And then the truth of God can weave greater insights into our consciousness. You know, the Tao Te Ching doesn't cover all of Taoism, but it's probably the most popular and maybe the most condensed and perfect representation. But when I say Taoism, you guys know that when I talk Buddhism, or, you know, when I talk about Jesus or when I talk about Buddha, I'm never promoting a religion. So I'm not pushing Taoism. And it would even be a contradiction to push Taoism. But the concepts are the same. When you read, listen carefully, because I'm going to read some verses. When you read, when you study, when you listen and absorb Taoist, these concepts, you're going to notice that one minute they sound Buddhist, the next minute it sounds like Krishna. But then it'll also sound like A Course in Miracles, and so on. That's how perfect and beautiful. Another thing with this, you know, the Tao Te Ching's maybe, I'm going to share maybe just 24 quotes. But there's only about 6 roughly altogether. The Tao Te Ching is related to the I Ching, which is a divination system that isn't just a divination. It's like, it ties into people's genetics. It's a very multi-dimensional process to really be a master at the I Ching. But even something as deep as this, people will twist. And one of the things they twist about the Tao is That's the one that's all about be in alignment. Yeah, probably. Be in alignment with nature. Now you're starting to drift off. Be in touch with the trees and the birds and the rocks and the water. You're off, and you think you're on, and it sounds poetic, but you're actually, and it sounds like Master Po on the TV Kung Fu show, you know. It's very, be one. That's actually, you're already drifting. Because the Tao is saying there's the original inspiration, there's the manifestation, but not becoming attached. So very Course in Miracles like, although a couple thousand years before the Course, it's telling us, although there's a be in touch with nature, it actually isn't talking about materiality. It's not saying just get in alignment with nature. What do you think I'm about to say? Get in touch with what?
The nature of God.
The nature of God, your own divine nature. And then you'll be in alignment. See, even Taoist physicians might mistake it to mean, okay, you get in touch with the Tao, and then that means get in touch with yin and yang, or yin and yang, but yin and yang, the duality forces. No, in the Tao there is no duality. So as soon as we start talking about when it starts to manifest, it looks dualistic. It looks yin and yang. Now get in touch with yin and yang. Then get in touch with yin and yang within your system. Now you have the meridians, and then the whole, you know, Oriental medicine concepts. All true, but that's not really what it's talking about. Divine nature and the rest will take care of itself. Not go and fix the outer so that it gets you in touch with the divine, because then we go off track again. So try to keep in touch with what it's really saying as I share some verses. And lastly, the passivity piece. People love what appears to be passivity. I just like to be like the Tao and never get anything accomplished. You know, that's not with, you know, in touch with the Tao. Listen carefully to it so you can hear the truth of it. Hear the balance. There's conspiracies in the world. There's conspiracies throughout the universe. And they seem true. Why? Because we have consciousness, and consciousness makes connections to everything. So people can make the Tao sound like it was talking about everybody should just be hyper-passive. And that's just another conspiracy. It's another game to try to take us off our game, try to take us out of our center. Always listen for the greater truth. When people say, Michael, how do you do so well at counseling and finding solutions to situations? Because I look for the bridge. Instead of right and wrong, I look for the bridge. When you talk to people who are having struggles, 2 people, 50 people, start off with the idea that everybody's right to some degree. I didn't say go to the extent of enabling hurtful people. I didn't say that. But I'm saying let everybody be heard for a moment. Then if somebody wants to be heard so badly that they start to kick other people, you restrain them and stop them and say that's out of order. It's okay. The Tao is telling us it's okay. Be totally in the zone. But when something needs done, do it. But don't do it by losing connection with the original nature, the inspiration of God. So the Tao is asking us, much like A Course in Miracles, but the Tao is asking us, much like the Bhagavad Gita, you know, Krishna's teachings, it's asking us to do things and not lose our connection, which is exactly the problem in the world. And even the idea of taking the Tao and splitting it into masculine and feminine and beautiful, you know, oneness. The Tao is not the yin and yang, masculine, feminine. It's what brings them together into harmony. Try to get what I'm saying. You know the famous yin and yang symbol, right? I remember in the 80s, some teacher, a college professor of you know, whatever, philosophy, had some students of theirs, and they were students of mine. And this, you know, they were introducing us. And the college professor actually tried to like, so Michael, what do you understand about the yin and yang? And da-da-da-da, trying to, you know, bamboozle me and impress me with intellectual rambling and babbling about the symbol of yin and yang. And they were saying, so which is more important? And how do you combine them? Blah, 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 all this stuff. And I said, I'm actually not interested in neither the yin or the yang, or even the how to get them to become balanced. You know what I'm interested in? There's something you can't even see that's in between the two, that's drawing them together. That's God. You see? That's what we have to look for. In the things that seem different. And I understand we have a seemingly scary world, but do you understand that there is only God? And then some of us go, okay, if there's only God, then Michael is one of those people who's saying war is God. No, I didn't say that. It sounds like I said that, but I didn't. There is only God means in truth there is only God. Beneath us, beneath our skin cells, beneath the trees, underneath all the form is the Divine Mother, who then crystallizes so that we can see. See what? Ourselves. So there are people in the world that are saying, make them stop clear-cutting trees. And instead, why are you so upset? Really, why are you upset? Because it's wrong. Well, okay, what makes it wrong? What's upsetting you? The clear-cutting of trees is gross, of course. Killing all the dolphins, it's disgusting, of course. But the mother has never had one scar from this, the real Divine Mother. She's underneath every dolphin they kill, out every tree they cut. She's underneath saying, do you see me yet? If not, I'll keep materializing in other things for you to learn from. Because you're supposed to only look for her, and she's grace. Can you see me? Can you see love? Can you see light underneath all the horror of what you see? The horrors are not done to you. The horrors are reflected to you to show you times when you're off. And the downside is our ego gets us trained to look at those external horrors and address them and stay at that level. If only we could make people stop cutting trees. As soon as you say if only, you're wrong. If only means it isn't already. And if it isn't already, how could it be God? So why would you want me to address what isn't? And so on. Now, I did say the Tao God is really always calling us to bridge. So I'm not saying we ignore the problems. So folks had written in and asked, what about things like chemtrails? Do you believe in this, Michael? What this and that and the other, rights and wrongs? It's all true. It's all true. And there's one primary thing behind it. The number one primary thing is fear. There are people that are afraid because they lost something called God. Do they consciously know this? No. Some of them don't even believe in God. But what happens is, beings have forgotten who they are, and it causes an angst inside. When they feel that angst, they start to figure out, if I feel like I'm missing God, I'm feeling out of control, I'm feeling angst, I'm feeling terrible. Look what happens. I'm feeling terrible. I need to do some things to gain some control. And they become, whether it's in one household or whether it's globally, the people, they lose control, so they need control. And they assume that if they go grab some, they'll have it. But that's not how you get it. And then they think, well, I did that, and it didn't quite work. I've got to do more of that. And then they become addicted to power. So even though they say money is the root of all evil, and then there's New Agers going, oh no, man, that was a mistranslation. No, it's true. That the people interpret money as being the root of all evil, even those who are very evil. They interpret money as being something that gives them what? Power. That gives them what? Control. That gives them what? Their version of a solution to fear. But only love can dispel fear. Love casts out fear. But if they don't know love, they're not going to know the solution, the remedy that they're looking for. They're going to keep stuck in the problem. So resist not evil, Jesus says, did not mean be a pacifist. It does not mean that. But don't fight these things. It's all true. You're not imagining things. There are people that invest in creating chemtrails, that create certain chemicals that will affect the world. There are people passing laws to make sure they put controls on certain things so that you'll have to pay them more money for it later. They outlawed and kept impossible the idea of solar energy till they could buy more of it. Then it was now legalized. You see what I'm saying? It's always, there's people that are very smart about these things. People that wanted to sell you sugar water until water became marketable. And then they're the same companies behind selling you bottled water now. They don't care. as long as they're making money on it. None of this is the Tao. This is all about slipping out of the Tao. So I acknowledge all these things are true. All these bizarre conspiracy stories, many are true. Governments conspired with other naughty people to kill Kennedy and so on. It's all true. And it's all freaky, and you will never, ever be able to absorb it all and understand it all, because it's not understandable. It's coming from a disturbed mind, the human ego.
That's right. So
be careful. It's okay for you to be as gentle as doves and as wise as serpents, Jesus said. It means just, come on. Be gentle, but see through the game. See through the game. Don't assume your granola store is better than another store because people started buying stocks in that one and making sure that there's more profit. It shouldn't take you $100 to have a granola bar. That's wrong. It's wrong. When people who care, if they were in charge, people truly care, and they pretend to, what they'll do is say, let's make it even more affordable. Let's make it even more affordable. And the direction would be more affordable. But that's not logical to the profiting mind, which is why you heard money is the root of all evil. It doesn't mean literally, it just means on earth it's really a sick motivator because people lose track of their priorities. None of this is the Tao, but as I'm closing that part, I am saying, please understand you're right, and there's nothing wrong with you saying, is it just me? Or are prices going up and up and up with this and that? Yes, of course. And fuel prices. Wars have been launched just to traffic drugs. So we're not living in a sane world. And am I just going to actually only talk about this kind of stuff? No, it's to give some contrast. Look at how disturbed and disturbing it all is. And it is. I mean, we don't have to pretend, that it's not looking kind of bleak. But remember, see it. Understand that, there's some strange things going on here. Yoko Ono, who I never thought I would quote in a Sunday service, once said, she said, my husband was killed by evil. She wasn't talking about the individual. She's saying that there's like an energy. I don't mean a thing, like a being. There's an energy that we all feed. And it doesn't like love. So when he comes back and tries to do a comeback and wants to share his concepts about love, there is an evil that kills him. There's an evil that possesses an individual and kills him. You see, so there's money, there's profit, but behind it it's control. So you will never have what you need to fight that control. What you do have is one to have an immunity to it. And that's inner peace. And it comes from really understanding how things work. And again, I'm not saying be gentle as doves and stay gentle, 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 passive. That's a misunderstanding of Taoism, Buddhism, Christism, and so on. And even the people you think you trust and so on, it's so easy to get caught in power. When it comes to, you guys have heard me, joke a little bit about diet and things like that, because in my life I've tried to make it a point to say, guys, maybe there's another way of looking at this. So I went out of I didn't make it a religion or something, but for part of my life I have said yes to things to demonstrate. Jesus says, if somebody asks for your coat, give them your shirt as well in the Bible. In the Course in Miracles, he retranslates it to mean, show people that it doesn't matter. Show people that things don't have the power you think it has. So I was the type that went, that's right. That's right. So I tipped the waitresses a little more for food because it's okay. It doesn't matter. Show people that are scared, that can barely pay a bill. Give them a little extra to shake up their mind so that they can go, how could you don't even know me. You only had water. Why did you tip me $10? Because it doesn't matter. Because there's enough. And the waitress who can barely pay a phone bill, and you gave her, and you said, whether it was through action, intention, or concepts that you're sharing. It's not like you always have to set up a a whiteboard and teach them, but through actions and energy, you can say to people, it's okay, there's enough. And drop that, you plant that seed in their mind. So I feel like that's been a part of me for most of my life. Just do something else. When I was a kid, I was involved with, I lived in LA, in the LA, Southern California area. But I knew people that were into films and all that. And one time, there was this Spielberg film that was being done when he was in his early years. And they wanted some people to be extras or actors and extras in this scene. And I happened to be there, and so I was invited. Hey, you want to join us? I said no, that's okay. And then I said, wait, yes, I will. Yeah, I'll be in the movie, no problem. Then what I did was they had my name, and they're waiting for me to show up the next day. I had a friend who looked a little bit like me go and do it for me instead. You know why? Because I didn't care about being in a movie, and this person, it was everything. It was everything. Like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I'm like, would you like to do that? Because we can. Show people it doesn't matter. Show people, let them have things. It's exciting, the good and exciting things, not enabling bad things. My mother, when microwaves came out, she would stand across the room. Push it, start, she'd back up across the room. Michael, be very careful, these are new and they can do things to your body. So I would, as soon as it's done, beep, I'd go over and open the lid, open the door of the micro, put my face in and go. You gotta imagine me as a kid, man. But anyway, I was like, it's okay, Mom. It's okay. But showing people it's okay. The idea that the life of one is worth, many. If you give your life up to others, and I don't mean you literally have to die, but if you give your life, if you can demonstrate it's okay. One time, John of God, beautiful, amazing Brazilian healer, and he was doing a healing on someone, which sometimes involves incisions and, cutting things out, whatever. So he's doing this healing on this kid who had AIDS. And people in this time, they're being scared and worried. Oh my God, he's doing this. He has no protection, no gloves, no masks, no, metal outfit. That people were all at that time so scared. He cuts the kid open, does this and that and the other, blah, blah, blah. And then he announces his AIDS is healed. And then the people there are going, well, no. The family members are going, you don't understand. He has AIDS. It's incurable. John of God took the knife that he had used and licked it off. And he said, if he has AIDS, then I have AIDS, and I do not have AIDS. He's cured. And just the impact, you understand, it's not just the amazing miracle, it's the impact of saying, I would put myself at risk to say to all of you, believe in God and great things can happen. You see? I believe in that. And how far each of us goes to make that point, that varies. But for me, with diet and so forth, I'm like, getting older and older and older, and I just chose no veggies and no fruit. I never got into any of that. But part of it's to say, that's not what makes you healthy. God makes you healthy. So I can kind of rest on that and, try out a few new things now. But still, when somebody, a producer or something from the Dr. Oz show, I don't want to name any names, so Dr. Wizard of Oz show, and they were wondering, because they had heard this and that about this whole thing. How could I live? How could I be healthy and not eat any health foods? Because every show is about you have to eat this and it'll make you healthy. And I'm like, okay, well then I won't. Now what? How did this happen? And they, somebody wanted me to go on there, and I said, I don't think that's going to happen, but go ahead, you can have fun with it. They did, and it was rejected. Why? Because they can't sell it. All their shows are about what you must do to be healthy, and it's not true. Yes, go along and play the game. Yes, go ahead. Eat right, I get that. But what about this? You can eat right, but if you're a jerk, it's not really that great. So be nice too. Give, show people that you're willing to go and give. What are you willing to do? Would you run into a fire to help others? And I'm not telling you that's what you have to do. I'm just saying, what would you do and not do? Even for me teaching sacred sexuality for years ago, I did it for a reason, and it wasn't for me. It really wasn't. I did it because I'm saying nobody will teach this. And they put this big shame on the subject. So let me try this out. And man, the hits I had to take around that, from churches especially, you know, the loving spiritual people. They had the most hard time with it. But again, what will we do for people? You know? And there are times when I've done that in my life where I've said, it's amazing because for the most part, you do that and typically people still don't get it. Even when you try that. Jesus on the cross and letting himself be slaughtered and whatever, most of the people following that religion actually don't get it. They don't get what he was doing. They made a religion out of the morbid part of the whole story. So we have to do our best, and we have to do so unconditionally. If we put ourselves out there and say, you know, I'm doing this for a reason, typically we're going to be let down. So watch for the deeper meanings of things and the deeper connections. Learn to say, yeah, it's true, all those conspiracies, but do I have to be afraid of it? No, I do not. If I just refuse to be afraid of it, I'm still trying to be I'm still in reaction mode. You understand what I just said? If I force myself to not be afraid of that stuff, I'm in avoidance. I'm scared, and that's not the real center. I'm saying we all have to learn the truth of God is all that's real. And so the rest doesn't matter, but know the truth and respect the illusion. You do have to play the game a bit. Do try to follow the speed signs on the road. You know, do try to follow some of these rules of nutrition or whatever, especially if they're the ones you believe in. But here's the thought. What if this is all an illusion, and it is, but what if it's all an illusion, and what if two of you had an illness, and one of you was told, just follow the organic route to heal it, and the other one was told, just follow medicine to heal it. And whatever they may do, one of them may live through it, one of them may die. And then when they live through it, they tell everybody, guess what? I ate orange pills and it cured my cancer. And, you know, wow, isn't it amazing? If that's the illness, right? So we boasted, but what if, since all of it's an illusion, whether you chew orange pills to heal your disease or whether you do medicine, it's all an illusion. So what if all Spirit is really saying is, I don't actually care which one you do. You think it's a miracle that by gnawing on orange pills you can heal some. You think it's a miracle. And now you're writing books about orange pill diet. Okay, great. The orange pill cure for cancer. And the other person saying, no, man, you know what? Don't go that route. Use medicine. It's really improving. And you go that route. What if Spirit's saying, all I wanted to know was how, with what mindset you were going to do those things? If you became organic about healing cancer and hated medical people, you were wrong. Do you see what I just said there? Mm-hmm. Can you do these with peace? It's not about whether you think you fixed it or not, because whatever was going to happen, what if it was already laid out that way for you, by you? What if it was already set up that way? What matters is how you are inside at the end of the day. So you can preach vegetarianism, you can preach meat eating, and both have stories about it. Oh, well, you've got to eat meats because it's important, you know, the blood. And the other saying, no, you know, if you just eat enough of this, it'll make up for it. Everybody's arguing. Both of them are right to some degree about their science. But are either of them feeling peace? And what I'm saying is that's all that really matters. At the end of the day, what if your illness was a test to see if you could be at peace? Not about whether you could cure it. Because you're going to die of something. Right? If you're meant to be shot, you'll never drown. So if your life is there, what are you doing with it? Why worry about it? Why fixate? Why try to tell other people? Peace. Peace. Tao is both the named and the nameless. As nameless, it's the origin of all things. That's the Father, Tao. As named, it's the mother of all things. Tao, when named, is Te. The sage gives, but not to receive. The sage or master gives, but not to receive. They work, but not for reward. In the zone. Stay in the zone. The sage rules by stilling minds and opening hearts. To the sage, each pause is changing to a different passage. To the sage, none are especially dear. nor is there anyone they disfavor. He gives and gives without condition, offering his treasure to everyone. The treasure, of course, is love. What can the sage grab for that he doesn't already have? See, why would you focus on, I got to have a relation, I got to have a partner, I got to have this, I got a money, a raise? What would a master who really understands things, what could they grab for that they don't already have? Because if you're a master, you would understand you have it, then it would become easy to manifest. No grabbing. Build your house, and Jesus said this too, on solid ground. The master builds his house on solid ground. Means also your thought systems, your meditations, everything you do is stable. It's not something that comes and goes. When giving, be kind. When working, be focused. Show up. One who moves in harmony always knows the truth of just what to do in every given moment. Man, it's what I call mastery. Endless affliction is bound to the body. Man's true self is eternal, yet he thinks, I am this body. This false sense of self, the body, in Course in Miracles is big on this, the false sense of self is the cause of all your sorrow. You think you're just this thing. When a person does not identify himself with his body, what could possibly trouble him? And it doesn't just mean body, health, nutrition. It means because you think you're a body, you also need money to pay rent, to keep a house over a roof over your head, so you don't get cold. It's all about the body. That's why so many mystics walked away from it all. They took it too literally, but they walked away to sort of disconnect the belief systems that the body is what matters. Masters are mysterious and profound. Their inner state baffles others. Their depths go beyond all sense of knowing. They are focused and aware and yet reverent and respectful. Abandon book learning. Abandon plots and schemes. Discard profit seeking. Instead, remain pure and simple. Pure and simple. You can have the nicest home, but it can be put together through simplicity. It doesn't have to be about hoarding, nor does it have to be about everything of high value. Just assembling from such a simple place. You know, the way children can be. You know the old story about there's a $100 toy and there's some pots and pans and a spoon. And they go over there, bang, 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 bang. You know, like that's as valuable or more because it's their imagination making it into something. The people of this world are constantly gorging on life. They rush and clamor about. They're rooted in this world. The masters have no attachments to the allures of this world. They have no treasure but the eternal mother, and no food other than that which comes from her breast. And that's symbolic of the mother manifesting for us all that we desire, especially when we're in alignment with God. The sage embraces the Tao. Without showing himself, he still shines forth. Without promotion of himself, he's distinguished. Without seeking glory, his glory endures. He does not compete, so no one on earth can compete with him. The sage can travel all day and yet never leave their inner treasure, staying centered in all the things you do, always having that center. Though the views are captivating, he remains calm and uninvolved, meaning undisturbed. The sage speaks without causing harm and gives without keeping an account. Those of us, we think of how much we give, whether it's giving something physical or giving our time. When we account it, when we, I've given you so much. Why were you keeping account in the first place? He's always on the side of virtue, so everyone around him prospers. Oh my God, I love that. Everyone around him prospers. At a church, the general setting is you're giving the average minister over $100,000 and everybody else is volunteers. And that never made sense to me. I said, give me a portion of 100. Just give me a fragment, a part of 100. Give me an income, fine, and give the rest to everybody else, so we can pay even the guy mowing our lawn. I get the importance of volunteering. I get that, but I also get the value of prosperity and letting people feel valued. So let's get people in the office that are paid. They have lives. You see, they have lives. They need rent. And they would like to work somewhere. And it could be a place that's completely unrelated to spirituality, but God bless them for wanting to be at a place that resonates with spirituality. So why not reward them? Why make it more difficult and say, no, if you want to be in a good kind of place, you have to pay for it by volunteering your time. You see what I'm saying? That's like overpricing things at a health store. I don't get that. The good things should be free, not literally, but they should be easy. Don't get me started. Hold your male side with your female side, then you will be able to hold the whole world. A master does what is called for and then stops. A master does what's called for and then stops. He uses strength but does not force things. So they do, but they know when to pause. That's enough. Whether it's how much to trim a tree, whether it's how much to have a conversation, or how much to pour in your cereal bowl. It's to do, but they know when to stop. One who knows others is intelligent. One who knows himself is enlightened. One who approaches life with force will get something. One who remains content already has everything. When the highest seeker hears the message of the Tao, he strives to attain it. Okay, when you hear things that, like if I'm sharing and you go, wow, you want to make that happen, you want to get that in your life, that it's calling a wise and high seeker. When the lowest kind of seeker hears truth, they just scoff at it. All beings support yin and embrace yang, and the interplay between these two forces fills the universe. Yet, only at the still point between the breathing in and the breathing out of these two forces can one capture them in perfect harmony. The sage lives in harmony with all. He sees everything as his own self. He loves everyone as his own self, and all people are drawn to him. Every eye and ear turns towards him, because there's something magical about that kind of a sage. What sage? Lao Tzu or a spiritual teacher up here? No. Any of us that start living this. Simplicity, knowing without having to call it study, official study. Trusting, loving. The masters live by truth. Moving about, he does not fear. Even entering a battlefield, he does not fear weapons. Enemies have no place to strike their weapon. It's because a master dwells where threat cannot appear. But notice, even in battle, it's not, oh no, they would be picketing out at the outskirts of the battle. No, if that's what you got to do, that's what you're doing. The true path is simple and direct, yet people love to take side routes. Do you remember me talking a few weeks about go vertical? Get centered, man. Go direct to God. Make everything so clear and simple. Connect. Humans, even spiritual humans, they get so easily distracted, and sidetracked. One who knows the Tao is not moved by attachments nor aversion. He is not swayed by profit or loss. He's beyond the cares of mankind. The sages say, act with a pure heart and the people will be transformed. Love and the people will be uplifted. Give without conditions and the people will prosper. Want nothing and the people will find everything. A lot of times the Tao is teaching also countries and leaders, trying to say, if you run a household or if you run a country, you can do it in the zone and it'll create this frequency, which is what we've accomplished here at Unity of Sedona. We sometimes have to set a boundary, and other times just totally, just expansive love, peace, everybody's just dancing, joy. And then there's times we have to say, oops, okay, not enough. That's not going to work. And just draw a line. But it tells us how we can do this, guys. You don't have to go out and read and study and really totally engage and memorize the Tao. Just understand the principles are all about how to live the God presence on this earth, which is called mastery. It's calling it the wise ones, the sages, the ancient sages of China or the Orient. But the ultimate meaning of the ancient sages is not just wise humans. It's those that also were ascended masters that were teaching these people. The wise ones are telling us here's how to run a country politically or economically in the zone, and it will work. The great sage is on earth to gently guide others home. That's me, that's you. He cuts but does not harm. He illuminates but does not try to dazzle. Take on difficulties while it's still easy. This is great, man. This one's so brilliant and practical. People wait and wait and wait till something builds to be so large they go, oh, it's insurmountable. Well, why didn't you start it working on it when it was only a speck? Take on difficulties while they're still easy. Do great things while they're still small. The sage focuses on his daily task, and therefore he accomplishes great things. Begin your tasks before they become a burden. Put things in order before they get out of hand. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. You guys will recognize some of these. There are 3 treasures to cherish and hold dear. Love, moderation, and humility. Love, moderation, and humility. The greatest warrior leads without haste, fights without anger, and overcomes without confrontation. That means in your divorces, in your partnerships, in your communications, and so on, your confrontations with people. It doesn't just mean literally war, but it can mean that too. Use your higher mind. How can I accomplish this with less casualties? How can I accomplish this? The Art of War, written within these concepts, a whole book, and it's used by military strategists in East and West and in war since the time of this writing. The Art of War. And in the Art of War, this is the master of masters on how to commit to warfare. And one of its primary rules is try and prevent casualties. Try and negotiate. It's all about peace first. Some of us may not appreciate the country we live in, but the ideal precepts at the beginning, what's on your money is an eagle. And one hand is holding arrows, but the other one an olive branch. And what it means is try peace first. Now, it didn't mean unless there's enough money to be made or oil to be had, so we forgot. Some people forgot. But our country was built on these concepts. Try peace first. Try and talk to your partner before you divorce. I'm not saying don't divorce. I'm just saying try and talk. Try and find out if there's a chance for couples counseling. Try peace. And then when that's not going to happen, if you're going to divorce, do it well. Do it right. Be safe, be sane, be fair, and so on. Advance but do not use your feet. Seize but do not use your arms. Cut but do not use a sword. Fight, but do not use your own strength or power. Thus, when 2 opponents meet, the one without an enemy is always the one that triumphs. Please soak this in and look at how it applies to your own lives. My teachings are very easy to understand and practice, yet few people in this world understand and practice them. My words arise from an ancient source. My actions are those of the universe itself. If people do not know these, how can they understand me? Those who understand me are so rare that I treasure them. Last few. Limit the view of yourself. Don't despise the conditions of your life. Listen to this one. If you struggle with, I don't have enough money, or people have died, trials and tribulations. Don't despise the conditions of your birth, your genetics, your family, and whatever else. Your programs about money, don't despise them. Don't resist those natural things. In this way, you will never weary of this world. The sage discards the view of his own self and chooses the view of the universe. So if you were programmed with money doesn't grow on trees and you're still living in lack, that's okay, but hating it isn't going to help you. Hating those who taught it to you isn't going to help you. It's sad. So cry. Cry. And if you were really brought up in difficult situations, let's talk, let's scream, let's vomit, let's do whatever you need to do. Get it out of your system. Cry it, scream it, release it. And then find yourself empty. Because have you screamed? No, there's one more. Scream again. Okay, is there any more left? Oh, you want to vomit some more? Here, there's a trash can. Okay. Anything left? When you're totally empty, you have 2 choices. Stay empty and let all those things you just puked out and screamed out re-enter your consciousness, because they will, because the universe abhors a vacuum. Or you will actually move someone else in. It's the new life. This is what was, and now I'm ready for what is, which is the truth of God. When God enters and you remember to refill after emptying, when you refill, there's a sign. Instead of sucker on your forehead, there's no vacancy. Nothing can come back and move in. No old programs, because God's here. And if God is with me, what could be against me? When life begins, we are tender and weak, soft, When life ends, we're stiff and rigid. Thus, by nature's own decree, the hard and strong are defeated, while the soft and gentle always triumph. One who has true virtue always seeks to give. One who lacks true virtue always seeks to take. That's why I said the people running the world, they're missing something spiritually, so they're in the place of taking. To the giver comes the fullness of life. To the taker, there is just an empty hand. They don't have anything at the end of the day. Though the Tao of heaven has no favorites, it always sides with the one with a pure heart. I love that. See, if two of you are arguing about something, my job and my choice, I love both of you who are having a challenge. But I'm going to side with the same one. I am. I'm going to choose. And a lot of new agey spiritual people, well, we're all right. We all have something to say. I get that. Now, what's your decision? Oh, I won't make any decision. I don't want to take any sides. What a bunch of crap. That's not Krishna, that's not Christ, it's your ego, and it's excusing your own passivity because you have issues. You don't want to make a decision, you don't want to step up because of some passivity in your, usually a aggressive father figure or something that made you so broken that you're afraid to be like him by asserting. You're not like him when you assert. You're like him when you go crazy and go overboard. Spirit can talk to us and stand up within us and say, not today. That's enough. You see? It's, to draw the line. So I love both of you. However, you're yelling and you need to lower your voice. It's okay. It's all right. Sometimes that's what they need to hear because nobody ever loved them enough to say no, which then creates hurtful people. The last one is, words born of the mind are never true. The stuff coming from your head, your ego, your intellect, never true. True words are not born of the mind. Those who have virtue do not look for faults. Those who look for faults have no virtue. Those who know the truth do not rely on learning. And those who rely on learning do not know the truth. Now, do your best to remember the vibe. You can't memorize all these. But what is the vibe of what it's saying? What is the vibe? Be passive all the time? Is that what it, be in touch with nature, so eat right? It's not about external. So what is it telling us? I'd like you to contemplate that thought while we move into meditation. Just set aside all the stuff, guys. All the stuff of the world. A brief meditation and a closing song. Peace. Eyes closed, and we're letting go of the old. We're letting go of our thoughts, our worries, our concerns, and instead, let's focus for a moment. Try to imagine you now. First, are listening, hearing, remembering, if not the words shared, then the feeling of them. What did you hear? And breathe in what you learned for just a moment. And let's go one step further. Try to imagine the light of God pouring from the heavens into your heart with each in-breath, as we did before, and then it washes over on the exhale. It's a beautiful wave. And as you do so, you are now aligned with the Tao, aligned with the Te, the Divine Father, the Divine Mother. You're in touch with your nature. You have nothing to think or say or do externally. You're totally in alignment. And then, so connected are you that you now are a channel of the Tao, the way of God. A channel of the way of God. Hold that as best you can, and then imagine a person is struggling with something. Maybe something you heard the last week or two. A person recently, somebody you knew other than you, struggling with some challenge, health, finances, landlords. Stay in that zone and imagine that you're answering them and advising them. Just for a moment. What do you, the Tao, share with them? Just do your best. Just imagine it. Let it be easy. And then, a challenge you've had in the last week or two, any challenge of any kind, center. What is the problem? Name it. And then channel a beautiful answer. What does the way of God say in such circumstances? What to do? How to respond? Let your ability to do this warm your heart. Know that the way of God is as close as your own heart center. And quietly begin to give thanks now that you've accomplished this, that you learned something, that you're different. And then gradually start to stretch out and open your eyes when you're ready.